what the Majed al-Shafie mathematics is. If I call, he doesn't answer, and he's away, I know that he's undercover somewhere and in harm's way, trying to save people. So we're talking about human rights. This is a man who lives it and breathes it and puts his life on the line for it. And you're all invited, by the way, later on to show your support financially, either by buying some of the videos or by straight donations. It's a worthy cause because it actually does save lives. Without any further ado, Reverend Majed al-Shafie.
How are you, everybody? Are you still sleeping? How are you, everybody? I'm trying to build a kibbutz, but this was not designed for Gentiles. Thank you all for coming here this evening. My Rabbi Bolka has always been there for me. I don't even recall one time I called him and I request that we host an event or we work together on something, and he ever said no. He was always a partner, he was always there for us when we needed him. I look forward to work with you, Rabbi. Thank you so much for emceeing the event. He has more hair than you, that's why they hired him. Anyway, this was a joke, thank you very much. I would like to correct Rabbi Bolka about one thing. He said not many people here because the weather or the snow. I actually disagree. I think not many people here because nobody cares. Let's speak the truth the way it is. Today we're talking about something sensitive. We're talking about something not politically correct. We're talking about how this Iranian situation, that this Iranian nuclear deal, how the United States signed on it, how Europe signed on it, how the Canadian government today agreed on lifting the sanctions on Iran, on a country that not only support the terrorist organizations such as Hamas and Hezbollah, terrorist organizations like Shia's militias in Iraq or in Syria or in Yemen, but a country that promised, their leaderships promised over and over and over to wipe Israel off the map of the earth, to commit a second Holocaust. And yet we're sitting down here and there's only few of you in this place. And we wonder why the European government doesn't care. Why the American government doesn't care, why the Canadian government doesn't care. If our own community don't care, why the Europeans will care? Why Trudeau will care? It's not sunny ways anymore, it's the sunny ways. That's how I see it. That's was also a joke, thank you very much. But the truth and the reality that this regime is not only dangerous on Israel, it's not only dangerous on the West, it's not only dangerous in the United States, it's not only that this deal will backfire in these countries. The fact and the reality that they are signing this deal without one mentioning of human rights. The first one will hurt by this deal will not be an Israeli, I promise you. Will not be an American, I promise you. The first one will be hurting by this deal is the Iranian people themselves. That's a good time to clap your hands. Thank you very much. But the truth that here, in the midst of all of these deals, when I went to Washington, D.C., and we went and we worked with the Jewish community, going to Washington, D.C., to lobby against this deal before signing, I found that the Jewish community there in the United States spent millions of dollars lobbying against this deal on only one focus on how Iran state-sponsored terrorism. And I said, that's exactly the mistake. You cannot fight this battle alone. You can fighting with another minorities that Iran persecute them daily in their own countries. And not just minorities, people that they are seeking freedom and democracy within their land. Right now in Iran, there is Baha'is that they face persecution every day. There is Christians that are facing persecution every day. There is Jews that have been accused that they are working to Mossad. And many other minorities. And many of the moderate Muslims that they live there, they will seek peace. In 2009, the Iranian people came out in revolutions called the Green Revolution and seek true democracy within their land. Young people, somebody like Ardashar, that used to be a prisoner in Iran, or our sister here that used to be a prisoner in Iran as well. These people are the true heroes. I'm not a hero. I used to be a prisoner back home in Egypt, but not in Iran. And yet they are both fighting. They're all communities fighting. Why do we need to let them fight alone? Why we don't fight side by side? In 2009, the Iranian people came outside the revolution asking for true freedom and democracy in their countries. The regime released thousands of revolutionary guards killing their own people in the street, and yet not one Western country stood beside the Iranian people. They was left behind to be burned alive. And how we can reward the Iranian regime? By signing a deal to release $100 billion to $150 billion and lifting the sanctions of them to do whatever they want with regard to weapons, not even guaranteeing that anything will happen with regard to the nuclear program. Only after 10 years, maybe they proceed. But it's the peace of our time. The State Department called it, is the victory of the voice of diplomacy. I am in a synagogue, so I will not swear. But with all due respect, this was the most bullshit. I'm sorry about that. That statement that I ever heard in my life is the victory of the voice of diplomacy. The peace of our time. When did we hear this in the 1930s? Did you hear this expression before? Who said it? It was that he was the Prime Minister of England at the time. And he sat down with Hitler and he said, it's the peace of our time. How wrong he was. But that's right. The American history, if you looked at the American history, the Americans supported Osama bin Laden during the Mujahideen war, turned against them. They supported Saddam Hussein during the first Gulf War fighting Iran, turned against them. They supported the rebels in Libya, killed their American investor 3 months later. And what's the definition of insanity? Is repeating the same action, expecting different outcome. So, what do we do now? Because obviously the deal been signed. Do you know why not many people here? Because the deal is signed. Canada decided that they lift the sanctions. There is no point of sitting down and talking about it. Why are we here? Why are we wasting our time? In the absence of light, darkness prevails. Are you listening to me? In the absence of light, darkness prevails. We have here peers from the Baha'i community, from another Iranian community, and they are willing to continue fighting. And I can promise you that the Iranian regime will screw up this deal. And when they do, why? Why do we do that? Why do we destroy this opportunity? Because we cannot coexist with evil. sake of the United States, but for the sake of the Iranian people, that they deserve a better life than that. So in conclusion, dear friends, we cannot give up, even if the deal is signed. Giving up is not an option, and failure should not be in our dictionary. And even if this deal went through, history will remember that there was few men and women that stood strong and firm for the true freedom in Iran. So in the end, remember this as long as you live. Our enemy have very strong armies, true. Very strong weapons, true. But we have the Lord Almighty. Now remember this as long as you live. After every night there is new morning carrying new day. After every storm there is sunshine. And after every persecution there is victory. Now remember this as long as you live. They can always kill the believers, but they cannot kill the belief of our hearts. They can kill the dreamer, but no one can